Let me tell you something. Life will never hand you your dreams wrapped up in a neat little package. If you want it, you got to go out there and take it. You've got to be willing to push yourself beyond the point where you're comfortable, beyond the point where it feels easy. Growth doesn't live in your comfort zone. Growth was born in the place where you feel stretched, tested, and challenged. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, the human mind has this built-in comfort system that loves to protect you from pain, from discomfort, from anything that feels like too much. The moment your body starts to feel tired, the moment your heart rate picks up, or the moment you hit a setback in life, your brain will whisper, all right, that's enough. You've done what you can. But here's the thing. That voice isn't telling you the truth. That voice is trying to keep you safe, not push you to grow. Safe is fine if you want to stay where you are, but it's a trap if you want to become who you were meant to be. The real magic happens right after you reach that point where you want to give up. That's the place where champions are made. Think about a runner on a long track. The first few miles are tough but manageable. Then the body starts to feel heavy, the breathing gets rough, and the mind starts bargaining, saying, just slow down, just stop. But if that runner can push past that wall, they'll find a second wind. Life is the same way. Every single person you admire, every top athlete, every world-class entrepreneur, every artist, they all hit that wall. The difference between them and the rest of the world is simple. They didn't stop. They kept going when it was uncomfortable, when it was messy, when nobody was cheering them on. Most people quit at about 40% of what they're capable of. That means when you feel like you've got nothing left, you still have more than half your tank unused. The problem is, we don't train ourselves to dig into that extra reserve. We let our feelings make the decision instead of our commitment. If you can learn to ignore that first wave of discomfort, if you could teach yourself to push just a little bit further every time, you'll be amazed at how far you can go. It's not about big dramatic leaps all the time. Sometimes pushing yourself beyond your limits means staying in the fight for just 5 more minutes. Making one more phone call, doing one more set in the gym, studying for 1 more hour. It's those tiny extra pushes stacked day after day that separate the average from the exceptional. And let me tell you something. When you prove to yourself that you can go further than you thought, your confidence starts to grow. You start to believe in your own resilience, and that belief changes everything. I've been in a situation where I thought I couldn't take another step forward. Times when the odds were stacked so high against me that quitting seemed like the only reasonable option. But here's what I learned. The moment you feel like you've hit the end is almost always the moment right before a breakthrough. It's like life is testing you, asking, how bad do you really want it? And if you can answer that question with action instead of words, you earn the right to step into the next level. We've all got a breaking point, but what most people never discover is that their breaking point isn't fixed. It can be moved. Every time you push past it, it moves further away. That's why the people who keep going when others stop are the ones who stand out. They've trained their mind to treat exhaustion as a signal to push harder, not to slow down. When you shift that mindset, you stop seeing obstacles as stop signs and start seeing them as challenges to conquer. Fear has a way of dressing itself up as logic. It will sound reasonable. It will sound protective. It will tell you it's only looking out for your best interest. But deep down, fear is nothing but a lie. It's the voice in your head that says, you're not ready yet. You're not good enough. You don't have what it takes. It will make you overthink until the opportunity passes you by. And the thing about fear is, it's not usually screaming at you, it's whispering. That whisper is dangerous because it makes you think it's your own voice, when in reality, it's just insecurity in disguise. If you listen to it long enough, you'll start to believe it's the truth. Fear doesn't show up when you're doing something you've already mastered. It only shows up when you're on the edge of growth, right at the border of your comfort zone. That's the signal. If something makes you nervous, if it makes your palms sweat or your stomach knot up, it's probably because you're stepping into something bigger than yourself. The problem is most people treat that nervousness as a warning to step back, when in fact it's a green light to move forward. Courage doesn't mean you don't feel fear. It means you feel the fear and do it anyway. I met countless people with incredible talent, people who could have been world class in their field, but fear kept them on the sidelines. They told themselves they'd start when they felt ready. Let me tell you something. You will never feel fully ready. There will always be some reason, some excuse, some imaginary perfect time that never comes. The truth is, you don't need to be ready. You just need to be willing to take a step without seeing the whole staircase, willing to risk failing in front of others, willing to try even if the outcome isn't guaranteed. Fear feeds on hesitation. The more you think about it, the stronger it gets. That's why action is the antidote. The moment you start moving toward what you want, you weaken fear's grip. Even a small action is enough to break its hold. I remember times when I was scared to speak in front of people, scared to pitch an idea, scared to make a big decision. But once I acted, once I stepped into it, I realized the fear was mostly in my head. It wasn't nearly as big or powerful as I'd imagined. And every time I did that, I got a little braver, a little stronger, and a little more confident in my own ability to handle whatever came next. Fear will try to convince you that playing small is safe. But what it doesn't tell you is that playing small comes with its own risks. You risk regret. You risk waking up one day and realizing you never really tried. You risk living a life that's comfortable but unfulfilled. Safety is an illusion, because even staying in the same place carries danger. Danger of stagnation, danger of wasted potential, danger of never knowing what could have been. The people you see out there achieving big things aren't fearless. They've just learned not to let fear make their decisions for them. They've learned that on the other side of fear is freedom. They understand that fear isn't a stop sign, it's just a checkpoint, asking if you're serious. And the only way to pass through that checkpoint is to step forward, even if your legs are shaking, even if your voice trembles, even if your hands are sweating. Every time you do, you prove to yourself that fear was lying all along. Talent is a beautiful thing, but let me tell you, talent alone will not take you where you want to go. I've met people with so much natural ability that they could walk into a room and instantly outshine everyone, but a year later they were still in the same place because they didn't have discipline. Discipline will beat talent every single time, because discipline shows up when talent decides to take a break. Discipline doesn't need to feel inspired. It doesn't need to feel excited. It just needs to show up and do the work. That's the difference maker. Talent will give you a head start, but discipline will take you to the finish line. The problem is discipline doesn't always feel good. It's waking up early when your bed is warm and comfortable. It's staying focused on your work when your friends are out having fun. It's saying no to distractions, no to shortcuts, and no to anything that takes you away from the goal you set for yourself. People think discipline is about restriction, but really it's about freedom. The freedom to choose your future instead of letting life choose it for you. The reason discipline beats talent is because discipline works every day, whether you feel like it or not. Talent depends on mood, and moods change. There will be days when you're tired, days when you're frustrated, days when you doubt yourself. And that's when discipline steps in. It's the commitment you made to yourself that says, we're still doing this no matter what. Talent might win you applause in the beginning, but discipline will win you respect for a lifetime. I've seen people with less skill but unshakable discipline surpass the most gifted people in their field. Why? Because while the talented person was waiting to feel motivated, the disciplined person was putting in the hours. While the talented person was talking about what they were going to do, the disciplined person was already doing it. Discipline builds momentum, and momentum will carry you through the days when motivation is nowhere to be found. Discipline is also about sacrifice. You can't have everything and achieve greatness at the same time. You've got to be willing to give up certain comforts for a bigger reward later. That means sometimes you've got to trade Netflix for study time, sleep in on Saturday for an early workout, or a night out for a night working on your dream. Every sacrifice is an investment in your future self, and those investments compound over time. The thing about discipline is, it's not glamorous. Nobody claps for you when you choose to practice alone in your room. Nobody's taking pictures when you're sitting at a desk late at night going over the same material for the 100th time. But those moments, the ones no one sees, are where the real magic happens. That's where skill is sharpened, where habits are formed, and where character is built. Discipline also requires self-respect. If you keep making promises to yourself and breaking them, you're training yourself not to believe in your own word. But when you stick to the plan, when you follow through even when it's hard, you start to trust yourself more. That trust builds confidence, and that confidence pushes you to set bigger goals. Talent might make people believe in you, but discipline will make you believe in yourself. One of the fastest ways to rob yourself of peace is to start measuring your life against someone else's. The moment you start looking at what they have, what they're doing, or how far ahead they seem, you stop appreciating your own progress. Social media makes this even worse because it's a constant highlight reel of everybody's best moments. You're comparing their edited, polished version of life to your behind-the-scenes reality. And that's never a fair comparison. What you don't see are the sleepless nights, the failures, the doubts, the sacrifices, and the hard work that got them there. Every success story has chapters that never get posted. The truth is, everybody's timeline is different. Some people find success early, some find it later, and some discover a whole new path in the middle of their journey. Just because someone got there before you doesn't mean you're behind. It just means your path is unique. The problem with comparing is that it shifts your focus away from what you can control and puts it on something you can't. You can't control someone else's blessings, opportunities, or timing. You can only control your own effort, your own mindset, and your own daily actions. I've met people who were so caught up in what others were doing that they completely lost sight of their own goals. They started changing their plans not because it was the right move, but because they felt pressure to keep up. But here's the thing. When you try to live someone else's story, you water down your own. You start making decisions that don't fit you, and before you know it, you're chasing a life you don't even want. Your only real competition is the person you were yesterday. If you focus on improving just 1% every day, in a year you'll be unrecognizable. And that's without ever worrying about what someone else is doing. It's easy to get caught up in comparison because it feels like motivation, but in reality, it often turns into resentment or self-doubt. Instead of asking, why don't I have what they have, start asking, what can I learn from them? When you shift from envy to curiosity, you turn someone else's success into a source of growth instead of a source of insecurity. Life isn't a race, and even if it were, you'd be running on a completely different track than everyone else. Your upbringing, your struggles, your strengths, and your opportunities are all different. The obstacles you've had to overcome might be 10 times harder than the ones someone else faced. So why would you measure your progress with the same ruler? The only fair way to judge yourself is against your own potential. I've seen people who took years to get their breakthrough, and when they finally came, it was sweeter because they knew how much they had to fight for it. I've also seen people who got what they wanted quickly, but couldn't hold on to it because they hadn't built the character to sustain it. Timing matters, but so does preparation. If you spend all your energy wishing for someone else's timeline, you might miss the very lessons you need to be ready for your own moment. So instead of scrolling through someone else's life wishing it was yours, put your head down and work on yours. Stay in your lane, because when you run your race with focus and consistency, you'll get to your finish line exactly when you're supposed to. And when you do, it won't matter who got there first. It'll matter that you stayed true to your own journey. Most people spend their whole lives trying to avoid failure like it's the worst thing that could happen to them. But the truth is, failure is one of the best teachers you ever have. Every person you admire, every success story you've ever heard has a long list of failures behind it. The problem is we only see the win. We see the trophies, the applause, the recognition, but we don't see the sleepless nights, the plans that didn't work, the risks that didn't pay off, or the moments when they were ready to give up. Failure is not the opposite of success. It's part of the process that gets you there. When you fail, you learn things you can't learn any other way. You learn what doesn't work. You learn where your weaknesses are. You learn how to adapt and make changes. The lessons that come from failure stick with you longer because they're not just words. They're experiences. You felt the sting, you felt the disappointment, and because of that, you're far less likely to make the same mistake again. Success can make you feel good, but failure can make you better. I've had doors slammed in my face, ideas rejected, and plans that I thought were perfect fall apart right in front of me. In the moment, it felt like the end, but looking back, I see those moments as turning points. Every time I failed, I was forced to grow. I was forced to think differently, to work harder, to get more creative. Without those failures, I wouldn't have developed the resilience I have today. The people who make it to the top aren't the ones who never failed. They're the ones who refuse to quit after they did. Failure also humbles you. It reminds you that you don't know everything, that you still have more to learn, and that you can't take shortcuts if you want lasting results. It strips away your ego and forces you to focus on what really matters. That humility keeps you hungry. It keeps you in student mode, always willing to grow and improve. The problem is too many people see failure as a permanent label instead of a temporary event. They fail once and decide they're not cut out for it. They think one setback defines their whole potential, when in reality, failure is just feedback. It's information telling you to adjust your approach. The people who keep going are the ones who see failure as a stepping stone, not a stop sign. When you start embracing failure instead of avoiding it, you stop playing it safe. You start taking bigger swings. You start putting yourself in situations where the outcome isn't guaranteed, but the growth is. And yes, sometimes those swings will miss, but every miss gets you closer to the hit you've been aiming for. Some of the best ideas, biggest breakthroughs, and greatest achievements came from people who failed over and over before they finally figured it out. You can't tiptoe your way to greatness. Playing it safe might protect you from falling, but it will also keep you from flying. Every failure is proof that you tried, that you stepped out of your comfort zone, that you were brave enough to take a shot. And the more shots you take, the better your aim gets. So instead of letting failure break you, let it build you. Treat every setback as a training ground, every disappointment as a lesson, and every no as a step toward the yes you've been working for. The people you keep around you will either lift you higher or pull you down. And sometimes it happens so quietly you don't even notice until it's too late. Energy is contagious, and whether you like it or not, you're going to absorb the habits, the attitudes, and the mindsets of the people you spend the most time with. If you're surrounded by complainers, you're going to start complaining. If you're surrounded by people who make excuses, you're going to start making them too. But if you're surrounded by driven, disciplined, and positive people, you're going to start picking up their ways without even trying. That's why you've got to be intentional about who you let into your circle. Too many people waste years holding on to relationships that no longer serve them. Maybe they've known someone since childhood, or they feel guilty about creating distance. But the truth is, not everyone is meant to walk with you through every chapter of your life. Some people were only meant to be part of the beginning, not the journey all the way to the end. And that's okay. Growth often means outgrowing certain connections. You don't have to hate them. You just have to accept that their path and your path are no longer the same. And you don't remember, when people equate jobs with respectability, when you surround yourself with people who make you better, you're surrounding yourself with accountability. These are the people who won't let you settle, who will challenge you when you slacken, who will push you to reach higher when you're tempted to aim low. They'll celebrate your wins, but they'll also call you out when you're making excuses. That kind of honesty isn't always comfortable, but it's necessary if you want to reach your full potential. The right people will inspire you simply by the way they live. You will watch how they handle challenges, how they keep going when it's hard, how they turn obstacles into opportunities, and you will find yourself wanting to rise to their level. Being in an environment like that keeps you sharp because you don't want to be the one who's not pulling their weight. You naturally start stepping up your game. It's also important to realize that surrounding yourself with people who make you better doesn't just mean people who are further along than you. Sometimes it's about people who see the world differently, who can offer perspectives you would never think of on your own. Diversity in your circle creates growth because it challenges your thinking and opens you up to new possibilities. If everyone around you thinks exactly like you, you're not growing. You're just reinforcing what you already know. But you've got to be careful, because not everyone who smiles in your face is rooting for you. Some people secretly hope you'll fail because your success makes them uncomfortable. Pay attention to how people react to your wins. Real friends will be happy for you even if they're not winning themselves. They'll clap for you when you're not in the room. If someone can't handle your growth, that's not your problem to fix. That's your cue to create distance. Building a strong circle isn't about having a big group. It's about having the right group. Even a small handful of the right people can change your life. And when you've got those people in your corner, make sure you also adding value to them. It's not just about taking their energy and motivation. It's about giving it back. Be the person who pushes them, encourages them, and challenges them to be better too. Iron sharpens iron, and when everyone in the circle is sharpening each other, everybody wins.